Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama and Anubis. Been going through some hard times financially, so if you could donate at paypal.me/Shakaama, just $5. If 100 of you did that, I'd be fine. Okay, so this single fact makes millennials more likely to not get married nor have kids. Just to list them off. Articles praising single moms. Articles tell mom to get rid of their husbands. Articles tell women to be strong and independent. Media shows older, over 40, women being loose in the streets and the streets. We never stop to think about these kids at the other end of the disasters of a parent. Millennial children had to grow up, it's actually calmed down now, with skyrocketing divorce and single moms as the custodial guardians. We now know that the child became a garbage can dumpster or the woman making them hate their fathers. All that did was to make the child have a psychotic break, hating both the dad and the mom. I don't have any data on how many millennials no longer talk to their moms. They don't track that. But if psychology is any indication, they've come out saying, do not try to tell your child how horrible their dad or mom is, because no matter what the father did to the woman, the child has a completely different relationship with the parent. Courts are now awarding custody more often if the woman attempts to come to court and say what a terrible husband, father he is. It is so prevalent that it is now a factor in divorce lawyer training to make sure your client doesn't bring it up at all, to make sure she doesn't lose custody. The courts have now seen that such a person will mess up the child, which is not for the benefit of the child, which custody is trying to get, right? i.e., in the best interest of the child. So the courts are recognizing that a vengeful mother who tries to come to court literally and say, oh, he's a terrible father, he was a terrible husband, blah, 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 that by evidence of them saying this in court, that this vengeance will carry on in their raising the child in their parenthood, right? So the courts say, this is going to continue. We at least can identify that this is a bad instance of an actual parent. And they are awarding custody to men when the woman does that. It's almost night and day. It is almost a complete reversal to the tune of something like 70%, 80% goes to the father in those instances. The courts have now seen that such a person will mess up the child, which is not for the best interest of the child. Oh, by the way, you have to pay for a child advocate these days. That comes out of the divorce settlement, my dear. This is so that women understand that they are not going to get half. Everybody wants to make jokes and say, I want half Eddie, right? That's not going to happen. So the millennials grew up with single moms who were bitter, who were told how horrible their fathers were. This hate that they lived with for almost 20 years or so made them resent one thing: marriage. Coming home after school to an empty house and then having mom come home blaming all of her problems on the father made the millennial children miserable. When a horrible mom tells her child how horrible the father is, she forgets that she's literally saying that half of the child is horrible, because that is the child's flesh and blood. Half of your DNA is your father. So if your father's horrible, a lot of times they go on to then blame the child and say, you're just like your father, instilling that hate into the child themselves to hate themselves. Here's the cherry on top of this turd sandwich. There is a huge percentage of psychologists that are women. These women also went through divorces. So then the child goes to therapy, and the therapists also dumps their issues onto the child. They can't stop just because they're a therapist. They can't stop just because they're a professional. They're still a divorced woman. So now the child goes to therapy seeking help, and the therapists themselves heap on their own baggage onto the child. The millennial children could not win. And worse, with the advent of feminism, it was blamed on being a man. So all of the little boys were told that their sex, the core of their existence, was horrible. Is there any wonder that millennial men aren't on board with marriage? And here's a fun fact, because it has been so fun listening to this up until now, right? Here's a fun fact. When they did surveys asking millennials if they're going to get married, are they going to have children, 1/3 of them said flat out, I will never get married. I will never have children. That was all of them. That's men and women, female and male millennials. A full 1/3 flat out said, nope, not going to happen. Now I want you to guess, in the data from the last video that I did talking about the Harvard professor at Harvard University, what did they come out and conclude that the single mom percentage was in the population? A full 1/3. Is that a coincidence that a full 1/3 of the population was brought up by single moms, and a full 1/3 of millennials say that they will not get married, they will not have children? I don't think that's a coincidence at all. Now, after the advent of these pro-women groups and these slogans and this propaganda that continuously is fed through the media over and over and over, the amount of millennials who are actually practicing, and I mean, what are they doing? Regardless of what they're saying, what are they doing? An overwhelming majority of millennials are not getting married. Now, I'm talking about millennials. If we step into the realm of Gen Z, so millennials are Gen Y. If we step into the realm of Gen Z, the attitude towards marriage and children of Gen Z, this is the full, they've gone full circle. They had a whole new generation coming up, and they just turned 20. In 2020, they just turned 20, right? What is their attitude towards marriage and children? That is old-fashioned. That is no longer a thing. And in fact, when we get into the extremes of the population, these are the minorities that they pass all these laws for, the transgenders and this, and don't call me he, don't call me she, all of those people. They want to pass laws to get complete polyamory, which means you can marry anybody that you want, and you can marry tons and tons of people. You can marry 5 people at a time, or don't get married at all. So that's the attitude that you're now getting in those populations. So in Gen X, we still had a bit of normalcy, and for those of you who get triggered by the word normal means 51% of the population believes this. Normal means the majority of the population believes this. So in Gen X, the millennials, we still had a bit of normalcy. It is normal to believe that one man, one woman is marriage. That's normal. Nothing to do with your belief system. Nothing to do with what should be and what shouldn't be. That is normal. I know normal's boring. Well, yep, people are boring. You still had normalcy in the millennials, but the millennials, a huge chunk of them, 1/3, grew up under a single mother. Latchkey kids. Latchkey kids where they were still had a mom and dad, but because both parents worked, nobody was there for those children. So those children from the 80s gave birth to the millennials. They already said, with just being latchkey, meaning that the mother was not at home to greet them after school, nobody was at home to greet them after school, that we would have problems. They said that was just latchkey children. When you then move into millennials, you have a whole new ball of wax where you have the single moms and the hatred and the vengeance that comes with that a lot of times. Now, we're not talking about widows. We're talking about single moms. A widow is not a single mom. A widow is a widow. Single moms that have all the hatred, that went through the divorce, blah, 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 blah. Even psychologists are saying now, if you have children and you want to get a divorce, push that divorce all the way until the child is 18, not even 16, 18, just so we can have a normal population. Because they're now coming out showing that the product of single moms is devastating to society. High crime rates, high also anything that you can think of that's bad in a person, it comes out of the product of single moms. This is what the data is now showing. Single dads, not so much. Single dads still is the disciplinarian. Remember, in the yin and yang of marriage, the father is a disciplinarian. Wait till your father gets home, Jimmy. I'm going to tell dad if you don't stop. Oh, okay, mom. But if you have mom all the time, you don't even have that. And you have women now coming on TV shows saying, I can't handle my 13-year-old. I can't handle my 9-year-old. These are the ones who are finally admitting that they can't handle it. And the product of millennials, the latchkey children gave birth to the millennials, and the millennials came out saying, nope, no marriage, no marriage, no children. And then the Gen Z coming after them saying marriage is obsolete. Having children is obsolete. And then we have the complete studies that says that in the surveys, the women want to have children and get married, something like 2-to-1 to the men, millennials. And there you have it. That's the report. Thank you all for watching. Like I said, please donate. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe.